In the vibrant streets of Nigeria, where the pulse of life beats fiercely against the backdrop of laughter, music, and bustling markets, an unseen struggle often lurks in the shadows. The weight of mental health burdens many, yet the conversation around it remains hushed. Families celebrate achievements with passion, but the quiet pain of anxiety, depression, and trauma often goes unspoken, leaving individuals to navigate their turmoil alone. The stigma surrounding mental health issues casts a long shadow, creating a divide between those in need and the help they seek. In communities across the country, the lack of resources compounds the problem. Mental health services are scarce, and many people are unaware of available support. A 2023 statistics from Journal of Public Health in Africa shows that Nigeria is among the worst hit countries by mental illness-related challenges, given that about 40 to 60 million Nigerians suffer various forms of mental ailments. The same journal rated Nigeria as the fifth most suicide-prone country globally, accounting for about 15,000 out of every recorded 100,000 suicide cases around the world. This statistics is a source of worry to many stakeholders. And so, on this episode of Late Edition, we shall be speaking on issues around improving mental health well-being in the country. I am Ekene Ndulwe. Thank you for joining us. Dr. Hope Omeiza is the founder of Vanguard Against Drug Abuse and Executive Director of VGADA Specialist Rehabilitation Centers in Abuja. He leads drug prevention and treatment programs in Nigeria. Dr. Omeiza holds an MBBS degree from Ahmadu Bello University, MSc Public Health, PGD in Psychology and Business Administration, as well as other advanced qualifications in addiction management, among others. Dr. Hope Omeiza has received numerous awards, including the 2023 Award of Excellence from the Actors Guild of Nigeria, the Nigeria Youth Reformers Award from the National Assembly, and Nigeria Goodwill Ambassador Award in 2018. And our next guest, Adedeji Oluwadare Adegoroye, is a graduate of Information Technology from Heritage Christian College, Ghana, a certified quality rights advocate from WHO, and is a social innovator known for his focus and advocacy on menstrual, mental, and sexual health. Ade enjoys working with and volunteering for social causes and has worked with NGOs, social enterprises, and international bodies. Adedeji is the Director of Communications, Nigerian Mental Health, which is regarded as the largest multidisciplinary network of mental health practitioners with over 40 organizations represented, actively leading efforts to improve psychosocial well-being in the country through policy advocacy, research, wellness programming, and disability justice. Gentlemen, you are welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, let's go down to the chase immediately. You know, the statistics on mental health it looks quite grim. You know, you saw the statistics that are read out during the introduction. Can you tell me what's the implication on the society? Yeah, let's go with you, Dr. Hope.
Okay, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to always be on the studio to discuss issues that affect the mental health of Nigerians. Yeah, you see, unfortunately, the attention that the mental health scope or scape requires is not being given to it, and then which is why efforts like this is appreciated, and you always see me available to discuss it. You see, Nigerians currently are going through a lot. Most times I think that the statistics we are reading are not even representing the true dynamics that is on ground. You know?
We mentioned 40 to 60 million Nigerians, and you are saying it doesn't reflect the truth.
I don't think it reflects the true, the reality on ground. You know, I was somewhere, and then a woman who was already selling to somebody was full of frowns, and somebody said, "Why are you frowning? At least you are selling to somebody, smile." He said, "There's no joy. There's no joy." That was all she said, and she continued selling with the frown on her face. I mean, so that's just to tell you that the people, the poor people on the streets, are not having it easy at all, especially with the economic.
Are you linking these statistics now to the economic situation?
Of course, yes. Of course, yes. So economic status of individuals are declining by the day. When what you could afford last year, you can't afford it today with the same resource available to you. In fact, some resources have even grown lean, and then things are escalating in price. Inflations are up the sky. So it's not funny for anybody.
Let me still keep on with you, Dr. Hope. You know, when you hear mental health illness or issues around mental health, people conjure this image of a madman walking around the streets picking things. Let's put it in the right context. When you say mental health illness, what are we talking about right now?
Okay, WHO defined mental health, as a state of mental well-being that allows an individual to be able to cope with daily life stresses, to be able to realize his abilities, to be able to work and learn well, and lastly, the individual is able to contribute to his or her community. So if anything impairs these four cardinal points, then the person may have some challenges with his mental health. Mental health is not the same thing as mental illnesses. All right, so we all have mental health. It's like somebody saying, "I don't want blood pressure." We all have blood pressure. Okay, but it's now for you to define whether it is high blood pressure or normal blood pressure or low blood pressure. So in mental health too is a spectrum where on one side, high side, you are good. You are able to cope with life stresses daily. You are able to realize your potential, self-realization. That means you're able to conceive an idea and actualize it. You are able to go to work and work well without getting into the ways of colleagues in the office, without getting irrational. For example, I was told about someone who was boarding vehicle from, I think, Maraba or so to town, and then the passenger they took said, "Sir, can you shift?" He went hell on the person. "Why are you telling me to shift? For it's not your car, and you know the driver will not pick only you in that car." And so he was angry, but in the course of the trip, he turned and said, "I'm very sorry." He realized that he had acted out of order. That person is going through mental health stress. So there must be something that was eating the person up, and he couldn't handle the stress of, "Can you just shift?" So it can be as small as going home, and then your child just said, "Daddy, welcome. What did you buy for me?" You say, "You're very stupid." "What did I buy for you? Have you not eaten?" And then you realize that you wouldn't have acted in that manner if something did not trigger you. So transfer of aggression, these are minor issues that are not minor if we do not have ways of managing them. So that is why being able to handle daily life stresses, either in the workplace or in school or in the community, is a state of mental well-being that can be characterized as, wow, you have a good mental health status. Right now, so move on again to you being able to realize your abilities. Oh, you want to do something, I'm not able to do it. Okay, and then again, your ability to work well and learn well, your ability to contribute your quota to the community. So all of these are the major foci in defining mental health or mental wellness. So some persons deviate from these areas in several parameters of their lives, and then they should seek help. All right. So, and unfortunately, like you were asking me if it means being on the street, no. It's not only those who are wearing rags or who are walking on the road without some sense of responsibility that are mentally ill. Okay, and that's why I established earlier that it's a spectrum. All right, you can be on the very high side. Oh, perfect, good. You are looked at as being very well and okay. You can be on the midway. Oh, you are going through some troubles here and there. Like the person that said he shouted at somebody now. You could have gone on to be violent on the person for no just reason. Now you could also be on the low side where you are actually on the street and all. But it doesn't mean that each and every one of us we have some challenges that borders around our mental health, and because of the stigma, that is why I think part of the areas of advocacy for this year's World Mental Health Day was reducing stigma. Okay, so and because of the stigma, when you seek help from psychologists, from therapists, from psychiatrists, you are tagged as, oh, you are crazy, you are mad, and that's unfortunate. Okay, so which is why I also appreciate programs like this that will help people understand or give them reasons to come out and seek help and seek the support that they require. And again, it might inform families on how to further support individuals they have as family members or as friends or loved ones who are going through some form of challenges. You see someone coming, normally laugh with you, but suddenly he's withdrawn to himself, saying, "I saw in the form." And then the next thing you see him talking to his side, "You don't colo." So for a minute, can we just think that you could be that person? All right, so it's important that we begin to think in that direction.
All right, let's bring into the conversation now. From what Dr. Hope said, the parameters for measuring mental health well-being is quite huge. I mean, you've done a lot of work in this area, in the area of mental health. Tell us, what do you now see to say that this person is going through some issues, and what should be done at that moment?
Okay,
looking at all these parameters that he mentioned.
Yes, so one thing I would like to also add first of all is that most people don't even realize that there are parameters, there are different stages to this process. So they feel that until you're already roaming on the streets, that's when your mental health is deteriorated. But then I was privileged, I think early this week, to be at an organizational gathering, and we had a doctor address us. There were over 300 people, and he asked questions relating to mental health and was asking people how many of us are feeling stressed, how many people feel that their mental health at that particular point in time is all right. And I think it's only one person that raised up his hand. And when we asked the person, why
only
do you
one
feel
person
only
felt
one person,
all right?
Yes.
Okay.
And we asked the person, what makes you feel like as if your mental health is actually even okay? And he said, well, to him, he feels he can accomplish the tasks that he has set out to do. He's able to live his life in a very comfortable manner. He's able to do all the things he needs to do. So he feels that he's okay. But every other person, myself included, didn't raise our hands. And this is a testament to some of the stressors that are going on in Nigeria. Even if I ask you and doctor over here, how do we feel today? How stressed are you? I'm sure we'll probably we'll most definitely have something to say about it, about some of the stressors. Maybe it's in regards to light, maybe in regards to the fuel price. That same day, the doctor was talking to us about how because he went out of the country to have a leave of absence, thereabout. When he came back, as he landed in the airport and he started driving out and he was hearing the new fuel price, his BP shot up. From that time till around now, he has been having a high blood pressure. And these are some of the things that people feel, yes, I have BP. But you know that some of these things like BP, stress, they add and reduce from your mental wellness. So most Nigerians are going through a lot of mental stress already. And when you're talking about mental wellness, it means that your ability to cope with stress normal stress. But then at a point in time, living in a country like ours, where things are, especially for younger people who are thinking of climbing up the ladder, you find out that things are a little more difficult, and then it tends to lead to higher mental stress and degradation of the mental health. So this is something that is more common. We notice it with individuals who are both young, old, even children. We have children who find it hard to concentrate in class. We have children who find it hard to even complete tasks that have been given to them because of the pressure that's also on them, also probably from their parents as well. So this is something I think that is common to everybody. And so in regards to making things change, because he mentioned the public, I think it is something that if anybody has not done, for example, we have a petition which is going out to decriminalize suicide attempts. One of the main ways of tackling what do you call it, the stigma around mental health is for everybody to get involved. So usually we tell people to go to our website and then fill the petition. We have over 6,000 signatories who are filling up, who have tried to decriminalize
suicide in
suicide.
Nigeria.
Exactly, because by getting inspired to do those kind of things, it now becomes
what's
more
the
close
relationship?
to home.
What's the relationship between trying to decriminalize suicide and addressing mental health issues?
Yes, so right now, if somebody has attempted suicide, the person will have to probably be hush, because if I tell you now, for example, as we're on TV, that last week I was really down and I attempted suicide, by the law of Nigeria, automatically I'm supposed to be sentenced and serve my own time in jail. So by that, people tend to keep quiet. They don't want to they don't discuss anything relating to it. If somebody even tells their friend, they'll want the friend not to tell anybody. So these are some of the things that will now make everybody keep quiet. It creates more stigma because now this person is a criminal. So by so doing, if we are able to fight that petition and win it, because we have done this before through public support, we can definitely change the stigma, the direction of stigma, and make it a positive thing in Nigeria for people to seek help when they need help.
Okay, Dr. Hope, like you mentioned, suicide or attempted suicide is one of the fallouts of mental health issues. I know depression is also one of them. What other ways does it manifest? What other ways, do you see these mental health issues manifest in individuals?
Okay, I'm going to explain that, while I classify mental illnesses basically into two. But before then, last year, October 23rd, I partnered with an organization, the I Choose Life Foundation, and they sponsored an event in Lagos. We went to a community, a Iwaya community, and we attended to about 120 women who had kids in the last 6 months. And we are assessing postpartum depression. We use the psychological tool for that. And so it wasn't just a research, it was an intervention, because we went with clinical psychologists in our team. And so after doing some group therapy talks, and then we applied the questionnaires, and we analyzed right there, and we saw that about 40% of the women had contemplated suicide in the last week. So it wasn't a matter of, okay, bye-bye, we've taken our data. No, we had to start doing therapy for these women. Now, like he said, it means that 40% of those women should have been sent to jail.
For attempting suicide.
For contemplating suicide. Yeah. Or they should have been put on the watch list. Watch them when they are thinking of suicide in case he attempts, arrest him. This month, October 12th, we marked the World Mental Health Day with a program focusing on adolescent mental health. And with Team It Express, we're talking to parents, stakeholders, teachers, that they should let young people express how they feel. Don't shut them down. Now, because if you do that, they are going to find an alternative to express how they feel. And unfortunately, we are going to be at the worst hit when they do it on the negative side. Okay, so if we are passing laws that further shut people down, then we are actually letting into a bigger problem than we already have. Now, so for example, I have explained before that suicide is not something an individual enjoys doing. So this is it. Now, to answer straightly your question on how do mental illness affect, let's look at it from two broad definition of classification of mental health illnesses. Is into neurotic and psychotic.
Okay.
Neurotic simply means that the person is aware of his environment. He's aware of reality. He's in touch with reality. He knows he's in this place. He knows this is Mr. Ekene. He knows this Dr. So. He knows this so person. He's aware. But, so depression is classified under that kind of illnesses, anxiety disorders, and even eating disorders. Some persons are anxious about something and they transfer that emotions to food, and then they start eating aggressively. You're like, how are you eating like this? The economy is hard, you are eating more. You understand now? So some persons is maybe drinking water. But there are other healthy ways you can actually transfer these emotions into maybe exercising, healthy exercising. Not for someone to go and stay in the gym for 7 hours. I have seen that a lot too. That's unhealthy. Okay. For someone to start running for 10 hours when you're not preparing for Olympics.
Yeah.
So you understand. So it's important. So people, this manifests in some of those areas, okay? And these are neurotic illnesses in neurotic format. Now, the other symptoms that they can show is psychotic illnesses. For example, the person is delusional. He looks at you and say, you know what? I'm the president of Nigeria. And he wants to dress like Tinubu, and he sits down and said, accord me the respect of the president. He's not just saying it, he's acting it.
And he means it.
So it's a deep-seated belief. That's delusion. And is improper. That belief is not him, but he believes that's what he is. And he will tell you, I am the king of this land. And so he will even want to go to the king's palace and ask the king to leave the seat, that he is the king of the land. So that's mental illness. But if some people do that in some local areas, they could pick them up and destroy them, saying that he's trying to desecrate the seat of the king. If somebody now walk to the gate of the villa and say, I am Tinubu, they may pick him up again with the kind of policies we are propagating. They may pick him up again and say he wants to remove the president. Yes. Now, the person actually have a mental problem. I've been told somebody went to the office one day and went to his director's office and sat there on his seat, said, I'm the director, I'm the new director. The new director may think that, he has gone to collect one charm and the charm failed him. If not, he didn't work for him.
So how should the society treat these cases, these kind of cases that you just...
We need to support them. We must first of all show empathy. It's for you to look at this person and feel that I could be the person. Yeah. It could be any of us. It's just the same way when people die and we're like, we're all going to die one day. You should also think that it can be me who is having this challenge. All right, so it can also manifest in hallucinations. The person is seeing things, hearing things. The reference about hallucination, auditory, olfactory. He can just come and say, here is smelling, and there's something smelling. All of these are manifestations of mental illness. Again, it can show in body illnesses. Like he mentioned, somebody who had, hypertension due to, he wasn't able to handle stress. Yes. All right, so we have what we call psychosomatic disorders, where somebody comes in because of maybe, especially when you have people who undergo chronic stress, they begin to have physical illnesses that are not actually there.
I know in 2023, Nigeria's former president signed into law the Mental Health and Substance Abuse Bill, abrogating the Lunacy Act of 1958. What has this done, in the area of addressing issues of mental health in Nigeria? Has it helped in any way?
Yes, it has. In fact, in a very major way, because now organizations can feel free to go about their business in a more educated and a better approach. Prior to this, most people will have to operate behind the law, because since the law has stated this, if you're going to, just like if somebody attempts suicide right now, if an organization finds out, there are organizations that will probably think of how to put the person in rehab, since they know what exactly the person is probably going through. But then that is somehow, should I say, behind the law in a sense, because the law states that if this person attempts suicide, the person should be thrown in jail. So that particular law, which was the bill which was signed, also helped to bring about a lot of change. Talking about change, in fact, before we talk about change, permit me to also talk about what he said in regards to being in somebody else's shoe. My father once told me a story of someone who walked up to him and slapped him, just like that, or poured water on him without provocation. And his response could have been started, you can beat the person. After all, the person started it. But his response, he looked, it's just a slap, Abi, it's just water they poured on me. The first question was, are you okay? Hope everything is okay. If we take this kind of approach when dealing with people, I think that will go a long way. Because if we're able to put ourselves in the shoes of those people, it makes us understand that things are different. Speaking about the bill that was passed, it also helped to bring about new initiatives where people can now further express how they feel. This last Mental Health Day, World Mental Health Day, we had a program called Immersive Conference, which was in line with the signing or the pushing of the new bill that we're trying to push. And in that conference, I was part of the team dedicated towards the virtual experience. Now, the virtual experience we used in partnership with other organizations, we used what we call the VR headsets, and then we put it on your face, and it's as if I'm in your body or you're in my body. You're able to see through the eyes of the person who is experiencing these things. So we're able to see if the person is experiencing bipolar disorder, you're put in the shoes of somebody who experienced bipolar disorder. If the person is experiencing other types of hallucinations, you're put in the shoes. And so many people who came across that particular device, when we explained to them what it does, and as well as the things it does in regards to helping you calm down, we also had like a therapy session with it. Many people will be like, no, I don't want to. I'm already going through a lot. Don't put me inside.
You don't want to experience it.
Yeah, somebody said, don't put me inside that mad person here. What is your order? And we said, okay, even if you don't want to experience that, at least you can experience the calming sensation, maybe a direct approach that tells you how to calm down and exercise and breathe. Now, some of these things will have not been made possible if that bill had not been signed. And that's why we keep telling people, you can go to our website, that's www.nigerianmentalhealth.org, to sign the ongoing petition on suicide is not a crime, to help push more policies that will now open the door for new initiatives, for new practices to come into light to help solve the problems that we have in Nigeria in regards to mental health.
Okay, Dr. Hope, I'll come back to you, but right now we need to take a short break. Late edition continues in a moment. Do stay with us. Welcome back. We are still discussing mental health well-being on Late Edition on NTA News 24, and our two experts are still here with us. Right now, let me continue with you, Dr. Hope. I talked about the mental health and substance abuse bill signed into law in 2023 by the former President Muhammadu Buhari. I'd like to know, as an advocate yourself, tell us how this bill has helped you, your organization, and other NGOs in their practice. What has it brought so far?
Well, I think that my friend here, Mr. Ade, has highlighted the huge relief that has brought to organizations working in the space of mental health. I think I want to talk about the gap between policy declaration and implementation. You see, there are a lot of administrative, bureaucratic bottlenecks that impedes on implementing good policies. I think it's been said that Nigeria as a country have the best, maybe one of the countries has the best policies in the world. So it's not just enough to have policies. How do we implement these policies? Now, we need to begin to look at the various administrative cadres that should implement them. And sometimes, unfortunately, policies are also promulgated and declared without representation of those that this affects the most. And so I'm happy that I see, I think 2 months ago I was invited by the Force Headquarters to participate in a program they were looking at so they can step down the mental health policy into their own terrain, into their own environment as force men.
They want to domesticate it.
Yes, so and to see how, so that if there is a problem with our officers in this manner, what policy are we going to use in responding to mental health issues in our own environment? Because if you have a mental health policy that is general, it doesn't necessarily translate to the same thing in the force.
True.
It doesn't translate to the same thing in other various government components. So I think that's a good one. I mean, like he said, it's a major one and it's improving the mental health scape. However, I think that we should have expected more being done. It's been 2 years now. I mean, almost 2 years that was passed.
1 year?
Yeah, okay, 1 year.
It was 2023.
Yeah, and we are still talking about it. If you check, most of the efforts being done in trying to appraise the mental health policy, it's basically on non-governmental organizations. So what is on ground? What is the government doing? How has that reflected in the budget? For 2024, and of course we're going to 2025. So do we see an improvement in budget? Because it's not just enough to do policy. You have to budget for the policy. There's something called policy and budgeting. You also have to budget. If this is a new policy, it means that it will require funding to achieve what you are advising. The desired result. So we need to actually speak to matters, So it's not, let's have good policy, wonderful. How can we implement them? What are you putting in place in the administrative? Because it's not the person that passed the policy that will implement the policy. You need the Ministry of Health, you need other actors and stakeholders to implement these policies. So how do you eventually step it down to them and ensure that these policies are implemented? So
in specific terms, I'd like to know, what would you like to see in terms of implementation? In terms of what government should be doing to address some of these issues? Okay,
we want to see more campaigns, not just efforts by non-governmental organizations. Even if it's not governmental organizations, let them be funded for these kind of things. They should be captured in the budget. That you see what we are picking organizations who are into, like the Mental Health Nigeria organization, and see how they can be empowered to carry out more activities. That's one. Secondly, today the statistics have it that just one psychiatrist to about 1,000 Nigerians. Okay, so Nigerians. So what do you want to do with that? You need more. You need to train more psychiatrists. You need to train more psychologists. So we want to see efforts so that there are more people to attend to the growing concerns of Nigerians in mental health. So more of this need to be put in place. Okay, and then of course, why are we having, after you pass mental health bill, you are talking about criminalizing suicide attempts? Is suicide not a fallout of mental illness? So we need to begin to. That means we are not sensitized enough. We are not aware of what mental health is. That means a lot needs to be done.
Okay, Ade, I'd like you to speak to the issue of, like you mentioned, accessibility and availability of mental health services across the country. Tell us your concern about this.
So majorly, I am actually excited because there are several organizations that have been springing up. I think the number of, NGOs and social enterprises in Nigeria have increased over a couple of years drastically. And that's wonderful because that means people actually, that sensitization we are looking towards is slowly creeping into the country. Now, in terms of how we can actually still do better, because these things are to implement, like he says, is more important than having it out there. How we can do so is by allowing people get trained and also funding, as he said, as Doctor said, funding some of these projects through the government. The government may not be able to do everything by themselves, but when they pinpoint and identify organizations that can actually make this happen, they should do so. I think earlier this month we had an interview where we had one of the guests, I think Chine, I think that's her name. she'll forgive me for murdering her name on TV. But then she was talking about her organization and how they train people how to respond to mental challenges in the public. So this is some of the kind of initiatives that we should support, because this training focuses on you don't have to go through a maybe 4-year training program to learn the basics, but it teaches the basics in the community level, so that somebody can be a driver, but he has done the certification to learn it. So if some of these initiatives are supported, I think it will really go a long way to improving the mental health space in Nigeria.
You know, speaking to some of the people watching this program now, I know many of them will have people in their family or even they themselves having some of the symptoms that we mentioned here earlier. What should they do at that moment? Where should they go to for help?
Okay. So first I would say that the basic building block of a society is the family. That's something that everybody needs to know, but not everybody really internalizes that particular form of information. Mm-hmm. If your child walks up to you and says, "Daddy, I don't even know how I'm feeling today. What is it? Is it malaria? No. Is it headache? No. Please don't disturb me." That's how some parents may react, because they themselves are going through some of these things. So I work with an organization called VV. It's a mental menstrual sexual health organization. We usually talk to families about bridging that connection, that gap in communication, because it's very important. Growing up in a family where I can freely talk to my father and my mother is not something that is very commonplace in Nigeria about deep topics. So if you're not able to communicate, we now have children who are brought up in the society who do not even understand, even when they know what their problem is, they cannot even discuss it or openly refer it. And then we also have family members, for example, my mother, who has been having health challenges for a while. She was told that she might need to see a psychologist or a psychiatrist. And the first thought was like, I'm not mad, you know. Even I think last week when we went for checkup, she mentioned, or early this week when she went for checkup, she mentioned the fact that they said she needed to see a psychologist, but she doesn't think she needs to. And I still reminded her that even if you're well, going to discuss with a therapist or a psychologist is not a bad thing. So calm down. So many parents already are still having that stigma that join me together with a psychologist or psychiatrist. Well, there's no correlation. I'm very fine. Please don't take me there. But then if the parents themselves are able to say, yes, let's go for a therapy session, or let's even go online and maybe learn some courses and get some kind of like information on how to handle some particular things in the family. Those trainings are important. If each of our families are able to do this, it will go a long way to making Nigeria as a whole a better place.
Okay, Dr. Hope, you know that communication cannot be overemphasized when you are talking about issues of mental health. And we also know that stigma is one of the reasons why most people are not speaking out. You know, what is the impact of stigma to mental health well-being, and how should the society begin to address what are some of the stigma that should be removed by the society around this mental health, aside what we said already about suicide?
Yeah, you see, Africa is a continent with very vast and wonderful culture and tradition. But somehow, some of our cultures may not be very good in attending to some of these issues, and we need to demystify them. We need to do away with them. You see, it's like telling somebody, you have to be strong.
Yeah.
You can't do it. Why? How could you be doing this kind of thing?
You can do it.
A strong man like you are telling me you are depressed. What do you mean? Are you the only person? All of these things are wrong statements that further make the person to recoil to their isolation in mind. And you tell somebody, it's just in your mind. No, mental health illnesses are real. I mean, somebody suffering from it, the person can feel it. You get so, and then it means that more advocacies need to be done to clear some of these myths about mental health. That somebody who is going to treatment or to see a psychologist has gone psycho. These things we should be mindful of the statements of the words that we use. Or you see, for somebody who suffered drug addiction, you say he's an addict.
Yeah.
That's labeling the person. Even as experts, we don't make diagnoses immediately. You know, you just see yourself moderate brain disease because we don't want to label, because it has effects on the person's mind. You know, and then you see somebody say he's an addict. However, somebody has malaria, you don't see him and say he is malaria.
Yeah.
No, we don't.
Somebody has enteric fever, that's typhoid fever. You don't say he's typhoid fever. You say he has typhoid fever. But you see somebody suffering from mental illness, he's psycho. You just label him. In other words, you are telling the person that everything about him is addiction.
Yeah.
Everything about him is...
There's no need to change anymore.
There's no need to change anymore. So the person feels, well, they say I'm like this. So, and I've tried to stop being like this. I can't help myself. And people are not realizing that I'm sick and I need support. And so they may want to take very unfavorable paths. That being said, you see, like he said, families are major in attending to these issues. I mentioned the program we had on the 12th of October. In the house, it all starts from childhood, where a child's opinion does not matter. You pick the colors in her room or in his room, you don't consult the child. I was with a mother some days ago and he called the child and said, after the house help called her and said, Ma'am, we need so and so. And she said, okay, go with this child. He said, well, hold on, let me ask the child if she will want to go out. If she wants to go out on the stroll. And I didn't say anything, but I was very happy. And thank God that mother was in the program we had this month. You know, the fact that you are seeking the opinion
Of the child.
It doesn't mean you must do what the child wants, but you give the child a sense of identity, the sense of value. It means she matters. Dad is going to buy a new set of chairs in the parlor. Do you have any option? Do you have any idea of what you want? He said, Mom, let's do black. He said, but Dad wants gray. Okay, let's compare notes. Easy. Just get them involved in it. It's the same thing. That's why we have adults who don't know how to keep homes and families.
Yeah.
Because you feel, hey, I'm the husband, so you just take decisions. I've admitted married people in my facility, husbands and wives, and I see the dynamics that are placed out in their families, where you can be very rich, but if you feel that your wife's opinion does not matter, that home will be a wreck, all with your money.
Yeah.
You know, so the same thing, as we must create a safe space for children to be able to communicate. I see parents say, why did you tell me when this uncle started abusing you sexually? You did not give that child a safe space where he or she could communicate to you. So when the matter happened, one of the weapons that the uncle is using is, if you tell daddy, he's going to kill you. If you tell daddy, he's going to beat you. If you tell daddy, he's going to do this to you. And so because the child does not see an identity in the home, when he also or she also goes out to school, she now gets along with a group, a gang. We call it gang, but with a group. And then this gang value her opinions.
Yeah.
So she immediately
gets a
feels
sense
identified
of
with
belonging.
the sense of belonging. So she quickly identifies with that group. And there's something about group psychology. Anyone belonging to a particular group, we feel that that group is superior. His group is superior to the other group, even if they are not. So the person begins to prioritize the ideology, the values of that group than the group he does not feel belonging to, which is a family group where the person actually belongs the most. Yeah. So when at home you tell the child, don't do this, he will get to school and one junior will say, do this. And junior is in the group where he feels is better than the other group superiority. So these are some of the issues that we'll begin to. So because it's not enough to say, call for help, see a psychiatrist, see a psychologist. Sometimes they may not be resourced to even see a psychologist. Except like programs where we'll go to and we do pro bono services. It's not all the time because you also need money to push around what you are doing. So, and some families cannot even afford to pay to see a therapist. A therapist can ask you to pay as much as 80,000 naira for a session of an hour, or 50,000 naira for a session of an hour. So you have to pay. And some families can't even afford to pay. So that is why we are talking about family. A lot of work needs to be done at the family level. Parents, in 2019, thankfully we had a partnership with the Center for Women Development, and we were able to train 250 women on how to identify early signs of drugs in their children. Family programs are important. We must begin to look at it so that within the family there's enough, at least if not enough, some level of knowledge that aids and grant the children the safe space to grow and thrive. You know, so it builds their. It's not just to help them, solve mental issues. No, but it also, improve their self-confidence. It makes them realize themselves and know who they are. So when they come out to school and meet other people, they say, no, daddy don't want this. He is able to belong to the family group that he or she feels whatever value that the family upholds is what is superior to the other value the gang in school is upholding.
Okay. So we've heard about what the family should be doing at this time, but I also know that the schools, they have a very huge role to play, in mentoring some of these young ones who are in school already. What should schools be doing, to students? We've heard cases where people are being bullied, they pass through mental issues because of that. What should schools be doing, in addressing some of these issues?
So when it comes to schools, I've attended private schools, I've attended public schools, and the bullying in fact, the bullying in private schools, boarding schools, private public schools as well, they have different degrees. When I was in SS1, I was in a school where the seniors are the bullies. So if you're in SS1, you fetch water for them, they flog you, they make your life living hell. I think there was a day that I finished my chores before time, and a senior came to the bathroom and met me and two other juniors taking our bath. And he was like, "What? You're taking your bath before me?" Called us, as we're naked, stark naked, took us to the toilet and was rolling us on the floor and flogging us. When we finished flogging us that early morning, he gave us 1 bucket of water for 3 of us to bathe and go to class. And we did so. Now, I moved to another school, and this school was a day public school. The other one was a boarding school. And it was different. This time, I'm not a senior. But imagine somebody from GS3 walking up to me and it's like, "Can I hold white?" And I was like, "Sir?" I was like, "See this one." But he gave me a slap. And I wanted to beat him, and some people surrounded me and they robbed me. Juniors. So there are different forms of bullying. And I was shocked because I was like, I thought that the system is the higher you go, you're the one that's supposed to be in charge.
Yes.
But then I realized that, okay, the bullying is different. So we have different forms of bullying. We have bullying where people use peer pressure of maybe wealth. So we have maybe, especially in private schools, where somebody has a better uniform, better outfits, etc., and they make the other person feel worthless. Or maybe their father or mother is someone important in the community and they make the other person feel worthless and their opinion doesn't matter. So these are some of the things that happen in secondary schools. But we have seen a lot of people who are bringing important changes. What I would encourage schools to do is to bring up programs and accept programs from individuals who want to help them out. I actually schooled in GSS Gwarimpa, and many people will know that school for some of the, I think almost every Friday as of when I was there, we fight. There's a police station opposite the school. We are always writing statements, arresting a few people, parents will come, etc., etc. But then the current principal, the previous principal worked with a particular group called Golden Gloves. Those people come to the school and they teach the students how to box. They teach them the responsibility that comes with learning how to control your body and your emotions. And these are some of the avenues that we can use to help the children fight with some of the mental challenges that they are having. It helps them to understand their worth and helps them to be actively participating in something in the school, in the public. It gives them a sense of worth. We also have other initiatives that go to schools to teach on mental health, giving them programs. We also have programs that are tailored towards making them feel supertabulous. I think being a member of the Children Parliament when I was in secondary school as well also helped, because it gave me a sense of, wow, I can actually be a leader. I can actually do something that's worthwhile. So these are some of the programs that we have had existing and some of them that have come to stay. And I think that the more that the secondary schools, primary schools allow these organizations work with them, even for free, it will take the students, it will take the school and the students to greater heights in terms of better mental health and better relations with each other and their homes.
Okay, Doc, going through your profile, I saw that you've done some work in the area of drug abuse, substance abuse, and rehabilitation. Can you, talk about the link between this mental health and drug abuse and substance abuse?
Okay, I'll discuss that with an example. A young man who was admitted in my facility, in sharing his story, he told me, we're asking, how did you start? What emotion, feeling led to this? what scenario and how did you feel the first time you used this and all. And he told me how that he had failed his WAEC. His other brother did very well, in his WAEC, a year above him. And so this time he failed. And the mom was just lashing out on him. Come on, we expected so much from you and all. And he felt very bad. Then he was able to manage and get into university. And then a friend of his was just telling him, you are always moody. He said, my mom don't respect me. She used to love me, but all that has changed. After I failed my WAEC, I didn't do very well. She was very disappointed. So, and the boy told him that if you take this particular stuff, your head will be clear. And so that was how he started indulging. And the boy told me, this patient told me, he said, you know what, doctor, my friend betrayed me. How do you mean? He said, he didn't tell me that I would be in rehab if I started taking that substance. He only said that I will be fine, but now I'm not fine. But yes, when he started taking it that first time, he was feeling fine. But now a point in time comes where he can't even cope normally, handle stress normally, without taking the substance. So these are some of the issues. So it's very linked together. So some people actually you mentioned peer pressure. There are times where peers force other people to take substances. There are times people have told us how they were in a room with people who take a particular substance and they put it in the food. And on eating that, they just feel good about that substance and they want to keep taking it. And they are where they are today. So peer pressure are multifaceted. Okay, so and all of these can be due to mental illnesses. People can start taking drugs due to mental illnesses, or people can also acquire mental illnesses from drug use behavior. So it's all interwoven. So it's important that we must be, especially in schools too. So when we talk about mental health being the ability to handle stress, it means therefore that we must teach children or even adults social skills that can help them handle stress. He mentioned one. All right, so we must teach people social skills, that will be able to help them solve problems. So it's the inability to handle some of these things. Some have low self-esteem. They need to be taught. So it's not just for children, even adults. Many adults are, so bad with handling problems. So and the first thing they do is just to lash out at people, transfer their aggression and handle them poorly. And sometimes those at the receiving ends are their kids. And they grow up thinking that is normal. So it's important that we need to begin to do these things. Social skills are important in helping young people grow, well and have good mental status. So I think
okay. Please, I would like to even add, some children see their parents, they come home, and once the father comes home from work, it's like, Mama, please pass me my bottle of maybe it's rosé, some nice wine. It may not even be necessarily maybe something terrible like that looks terrible, like Ogogoro or Heineken or something. Some drinks may look outrightly, wow, Daddy, why are you drinking this? But he may bring a very nice bottle of wine, he loads it up, drinks, and then the children know not to disturb their daddy because it's now distressing. So they automatically know that the method my father uses to distress is alcohol. Now this child will go outside and then do the same thing. So it's very, very important. I taught it once at a gathering, and I was asking parents, I will also ask you the same question and ask you the same question. How do you correct people who are not older than you, or you're not your mates? Usually we may say something like, what is wrong with you? Like the example is maybe, are you stupid? Something like that. This child started from age 1. He mistakenly poured water on the floor. I said, are you stupid? Are you not thinking? Can't you see? And you slap him. Age 10, the same thing. Age 20, he's now learning. Now, suddenly, you now become an old man. You're 70, 80, you cannot really handle yourself well. You pour water. When you pour the water, what do you think your child will say? Daddy, are you stupid? Then you now say, where did you learn that from? How dare you? But what did you teach him? So that's just to also further buttress on the fact that we should learn to train our children well.
Okay.
They are going to also be the leaders of today and tomorrow. So that's something that's...
They are going to be your parents tomorrow.
Yes, they will be the parents tomorrow.
All right, as we are winding down, I would like to have your final thoughts on the program, just within 1 minute, 30 seconds.
Yeah, I see that we've discussed largely on the mental health of young people in this show. And so my last thought will be on that, basically. You see, parents should learn to respect their children, not just to love them. There's no parent who wants the bad for their kids. So everything they actually do, even when you think they're insulting their kids, in their mind, it's out of love, and they feel that that will help change them. But we should also think that, will I like if somebody talk to me this manner? So that will help you respect your child, so that your child see you safe to talk to you than even the outsider. Thank you very much.
Okay, are there your final thoughts before we wrap up?
I would like to encourage programs like this, and I would also like to tell anyone who is listening, if you haven't signed the petition yet, go and sign the petition at www.nigerianmentalhealth.org, and we should continue to share the love with each other. We should try, as he said, to understand where the person is coming from and put yourself in that person's shoes. Thank you for having me.
All right, as we conclude today's discussion on mental health well-being in Nigeria, it is clear that mental health is just as important as physical health. We wish to especially thank our guest, Dr. Hope Omeza, founder of Vanguard Against Drug Abuse. It was a pleasure having you on the program, sir.
Thank you very much.
And also Adedeji Oluwadare Adegoroye, Director of Communications, Nigerian Mental Health. Thank you for your time and contributions.
Thank you. Appreciate
All right,
it.
and let's remember that every conversation counts. If you or someone you know is struggling, don't hesitate to seek help. Reach out to local mental health professionals or organizations. Thank you for joining us today. Stay healthy, stay informed, and remember, mental health well-being is essential for all of us. I am Ekene Ndure.